Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to our $1 million Movers and Shakers for the month of May. Congratulations to all of our achievers this month. And we have a very special guest with us today. Hold on, I am going to just a second, Jeanie. Okay, so we have a very special guest with us today, Jeanie Martin. Oh my goodness, Jeanie began building her Mary Kay business in 1988 and became a director in 1990. She has two daughters, Nikki and Amy, and is the overexcited grandma of 5 grandchildren, Avery, Anthony, Andrew, Skylar, and Jada. Thanks to Mary Kay, she and her husband Reed wake up every morning in a dream house with 2-story windows overlooking a lake in Sandwich, Illinois. Mary Kay blessed her life in many ways. Jeanie grew an area of offspring sales directors and consultants that were entrusted to her leadership. One of those directors was her daughter, Amy. Jeanie filled her jewelry box with rings by being in the Queen's Court of Sales 14 times, twice ranking number 9 as a consultant. She was a star consultant every quarter since she started. 29 years of great gifts from Mary Kay. She was a 100%er. She won 15 Mary Kay cars and loved driving that pink Cadillac Escalade, a trophy on wheels. Jeanie was a double star winner 9 times and helped Mary Kay open the Philippines in 2000. Her unit, the Scintillating Superstars, were recognized as the #1 unit in the state of Illinois for 5 years in a row. Her highest commission in just 1 month was over $28,000. She was in a unit club 9 times and was in the unit circle of excellence 8 times, and 2 times her unit blew out all the stops and hit the $1 million mark. She officially developed the IT national area and was promoted to the highest and most prestigious position in all of Mary Kay. As a national, her area was in the gold circle every year. She and her husband have been treated to all expense paid trips to Rome, Hawaii, the Canary Islands, Denmark, Sweden, Germany, Prague, Croatia, England, a Mediterranean cruise to Greece, Spain, Portugal, England, and to China. An interesting side note is that while accomplishing most of this, she was a full-time high school English teacher who resigned in May of 2004. In 2018, she turned the last page of the book titled Mary Kay, National Sales Director, and became a legacy leader. She continues to use her skills to help people fulfill their God-given leadership potential. She's now working on the first chapter of Watch Out World. We've unleashed her. Everybody, welcome one of my greatest mentors right now in my life, Jeanie Martin, National Sales Director Emeritus. Okay, I'm going to unmute you now. We had a little bit of background noise in the car. Hi, Jeanie.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you can unmute me and we can see what we can do in a few minutes here, huh?
Exactly. Where are you off to in the world today?
Well, we are headed to Michigan, and in a strange turn of events, I am going to do a Michigan lunch bunch with directors who earn the right to come, and they are going to be there tomorrow morning. So we are headed there because it's about a 2.5-hour drive from our house. So we are headed that direction.
Very nice. So, Jeanie, I'd love for you to share with our unit and our guests what would be like one of your favorite things about being a $1 million unit? And you did that 2 times before becoming a national sales director.
Yeah, when I think personally about it for myself, it's influence for one thing. When you become a top trip-taking unit, you gain influence in the company. You gain influence with how people other directors, other nationals, at the time, what they think of you. But for me, the reason I wanted to be the director of $1 million unit, not just the director of $1 million unit, but one of the top 3 was that I wanted to speak on stage. And so that was the reason. Now, for my unit, because, if that's all about me, maybe, but I would say that my unit, it was a miraculous time, because you have to there has to be I don't even know how to describe the community, the unity that has to happen to finish up $1 million year. One of the things that I liked so much was that, of course, $1 million unit gets to go on stage. So whoever was coming, was going to be to seminar, was going to be able to be on stage. So, there's a banner that they have. I can still remember vividly that we, I think the first year, we actually had a couple offspring directors that during that $1 million year, so they got to be right behind me, and then the Red Jackets, of course. And we were so particular about how professional our Red Jackets would look. And then and then the consultants that were there, I remember asking, I believe we asked them to wear just like white blouses and black skirts. So there would be that uniformity, that sense of community, that sense of this is who we are. And so I would stand there, and they would come down those steps, and they would all walk by me. I can't even tell you what that feels like. Of course, $1 million units notoriously get good seats. You got to know that too. And so when you have great seats, there's just a different, there's a different feel to seminar. When it's kind of like when you go to a play, whether you're in or a sporting event, right? When you're way up at the top, you can barely see. When you're right in the front, if they're going to spit, you can see the spit. If they're going to cry, you can see the tears. If they're, the mascara's running, you can see the mascara. We used to make a big deal about loving to look at the gowns, on awards night. Like, you got to see the details of the gowns. Those are some of the things that I think of. And then at Mary Kay events, I'm thinking, I would think maybe something that you would have where whenever you are together at an event, a Mary Kay event, then they are always, not they, but you as one of the members of the unit, you're a member of $1 million unit. And I don't know how to say it, but that's just different, because $1 million unit is made up of, it could be somebody puts in a 225 order. You're a member.
Right.
Without your 225, we wouldn't have done it. So there's just an integral part of each person, having their role. Does that kind of what you were looking for?
Absolutely. And where did Mary Kay find you when you first said yes?
I'd never had the product on my face. I was a high school English teacher, and I changed the time that I was getting my nails done. And it was in a woman's home, and I went during the day, and there was a woman that was there, and her name was Nadine Bowers. I didn't know her at all, but I was coming in wearing cut-off jeans, probably a t-shirt. I may have even stuck my kids out on the porch sometimes, reading a book while I was in there. And she was coming, and when she came, she would have, I will distinctly tell you, my moment was, she was wearing, now remember, this is 1988. Okay. So she's in it's a purple jumpsuit, all right, purple, with red leather accessories. Can I just share that with you? Now, that was not anything that I was wearing, all right? So you did notice her. And she had just come back, I think, from seminar. And when you come back from seminar, I mean, everybody looks like a prospect. So I must have looked. So she, unbeknownst to me, said to the nail tech, Gail, keep her there. Keep her there. Don't let her leave. And she ran home, drove home, and came back. And she thought I would be very impressed. She'd won a fur coat that year. But she'd also won her very first trip to Switzerland. Mm-hmm. And so she brought an audio videotape for me to watch. She brought this fur coat, which I really liked the purple jumpsuit much better than the whatever. And she said, would you watch this? And could I, talk to you about this? Okay, sure. So the next day, I still remember looking out the window, and she pulled up. Honest to gosh, did not know pink Cadillacs. I'm telling you, I never had the product on my face. But she had on this slinky dress, kind of black and taupe, and she had a attaché case. I don't know how, a briefcase that looked very professional. And she came walking up to my door. And I remember, I don't know what all was on it, but I had a yellow notepad and I'd written questions. My kids had watched that video and laughed at, who is this weird lady? It was Rena Tarbett. And Rena's kind of bold and whatever, but they were like, who is this, Mom? What are you doing? Well, when Nadine left after being in my house, I had signed up. I'd ordered a $2,400 wholesale order, and I had scheduled a time where I was going to go to her house. I was going to bring my two kids who could use her pool while she was going to give me a facial and some training.
Wow. So when she gave you this tape, she scheduled a time with you the next day to show up at your house and review
it. Next day.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Didn't use the product. So what did you think? What did Reed say? Did he know this had all happened when you?
Well, he was actually on one of those business trips where you go golfing for 3 days. So I went, I went the next day. I think I went and had the facial and somebody was there and they had some training. And he finally said, where have you been? I have been trying to get a hold of you for 2 days. I said, well, I was thinking about doing this thing called Mary Kay. He said, what are you like having some kind of a midlife crisis? What the heck? What are you talking about? I said, well, no, I just, I thought it might be something, a little extra money. I don't know. Just thought something to do. You don't have enough to do, right? So this was in August, going back to school. And when he came home, he did bring me a pink pen and said, if that's what you want to do, go for it.
Oh, very nice. And you didn't even retire from teaching until you had already earned like two top trips with Mary Kay, right?
1988, I joined, and I resigned from teaching in 2004, and it was my second trip. I drove a pink Cadillac to that high school for quite a while, but I gave up things. I do want to say that. Mm-hmm. I gave up cleaning. I gave up a lot of stuff like that. I didn't do the cooking. Reed really did more of the cooking, and I got help in my office.
Yeah, delegating
had to happen for all of that to happen. So
there were yourself more time, because you're working a full-time job, raising kids, being a wife. So something had to be delegated.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's great. I love that. You're going to inspire so many. I have many teachers in my unit right now. So, and I've heard that the majority of consultants and sales directors in Mary Kay are or were teachers or nurses.
Yes. And you can look at that two ways. One, a whole bunch of, that's what women did in my era, teaching nursing secretary. But the other element is that they are people that like to help. Teachers help, nurses help, Mary Kay consultants want to help other people. So
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of those things.
Yeah, it all intertwines with the servant's heart.
It does.
Mm-hmm. So we are wrapping up our final 25 days of the seminar year right now, and our unit has some great goals. I'd love for you to share anything on your heart that may like inspire them in these last 25 days to think bigger, do bigger, having one of those push goals. You've helped me expand my thinking so much, Jeanie, that I know you can expand theirs too, because you've just got me thinking a whole different ballpark ever since January when you came in for Sunshine Superstar.
Well, I would want each person that was in your unit to look at themselves and say, this is the 60th year of a company. That's a big deal. I remember, actually, I joined the 26th year, and all I heard about the whole year was how fabulous the 25th, anniversary seminar was, and how wonderful. And I heard it over and over, and I thought, well, I missed that. And everybody in your unit is there for what is, I mean, that's an amazing time. After, of course, every one of those years, like for me, one of the biggest years was the 50th anniversary. I mean, I remember that so well. And there were some big things that happened, but they were happening because intentionally I decided, what could I do to make this be, I want to say, like a memory maker, like a poignant, like there's a line in the sand and I'm going to go over it, or I'm going to reach it, or I'm going to do it because forevermore, I'm going to say, this is what I did in 2023 in the 60th anniversary. And you'll always have that mile marker to base whatever you do from now on in your Mary Kay career. It might be that I got my first team member. It might be that I got into my red jacket. It could be that, for me, I always liked we had courts of sales. Did you reach our courts were, and I'm sorry, I don't know if these are yours, but our courts were 10,000 retail was my unit court. Of course, 20,000 was Princess, 30 was Princess Elite, and then 40,000, of course, was Queen's Court of Sales. So that was huge. Where on the spectrum, and with the 60% deal, oh my gosh, I would be calling you, Christy, and say, could you, work with me and help me figure out what I would need to order to up my game, to get me to a point. I love beat your best. I'm not trying to beat the best person in your unit. I'm talking about what's your best. So I always wanted consultants, any of my offspring directors, to know what their best was. Like, for example, what was the best month you've ever had this year? Well, make June be the best, the most in sales, the most people you recruit, the most interviews you do, the most. So maybe it would be, that's what, I don't just want you to order, but I want you to order because you're selling things. But what if you sold? I'm thinking about, I love like playing the games. So it would be, can I sell 60 mascaras? Is it possible for me to sell 60 mascaras in the month of June? Whatever, and maybe mascara is not your thing. Maybe you're a lip gloss person. Whatever there is, but there's something that just jazzes you. And you say, we're going to sell 60. And I've never sold 60. Oh my gosh, if it were 60 skincare sets, that's where I think
making 60% profit.
Yes.
on those 60 skincare sets, right? But even 60 mascaras or lip glosses is $960 in retail sales. You know, you're
Yes.
looking at $480. That's what I was saying. Saturday, I was talking to my consultants and I said, boy, if you just started with a goal like that, now it would pay for seminar, even if you have zero money. Nobody can say right now, I can't afford to go to seminar. It's how hard are you willing to work for it, you know?
Yeah.
To be there for the 60th. The 50th anniversary was my very first seminar as a beauty consultant.
Wow.
And I thought that's how they all were going to be. So when I came back for the 51st, I'm like, where are all the countries? Remember when all the countries crossed the stage with their flags? And oh my gosh, it was just in the big paintings that they made with the glitter of the queens. Do you remember that, Jeanie?
Yeah. Well, my daughter, Christy, was the queen that year. So I was standing on the stage as the throne descended
Yes, it
onto
came from
the,
high.
and
Yes.
I was standing there with the top three directors in the company, and she had done a million, and I was there to crown the queen, who was my daughter. So do I remember that vividly?
And that was Pearl Seminar.
Yep. Hmm.
That was my seminar. That was my very
Oh, it
first
was
seminar.
your seminar?
Yes, yes. Now I'm in Sapphire, but when they did away with Pearl, yes, you were in my seminar when I first went to
Oh my
seminar, right?
gosh.
And then
Well,
the
then that was a big deal. That was my big deal. Yes.
yeah. And even for the Miss Go Give, the annual Miss Go Give, they made that big portrait. And so what an honor for our unit that I am January 2023
Exactly.
Go Give for the 60th anniversary.
Oh.
Knows. Yeah.
And to have your people there to see you be on stage for that, that's a momentous. I mean, if so many people will say what was one of the biggest honors, and they'll say I was chosen as Miss Go Give,
Yeah.
and for someone to be there to see you do that would be fabulous.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we have some guests in the room as well. And so as we close today, I'd love for you to share why today? Why would somebody say yes to a Mary Kay business in 2023?
Say it again. Why should they or would they?
Right. Why today? Why in 2023 would someone say yes to a Mary Kay business?
Well, for one thing, when I look at opportunities, I always talk about side hustles because most people don't start a business thinking they're going to make it a career. But there's a whole lot of people right now. I mean, even if you think about the economy, when you think about inflation, I mean, when you think about, I want some extra money coming in. So for me, that thought of being able to come in and make extra money for what I already work. My husband already does this, but I could come in and make a difference. I used to love to be able to buy the crazy, they got to have basketball shoes, which are different from the shoes that you wear when you play, softball, which are different from the shoes. And then, of course, I loved, because I had daughters, and then there's the homecoming dress. And then there's the, special dance that you want. Or when you got little kids, oh my gosh, one of my favorites was one of my consultants. They came in truly because they wanted to have their daughter, and they went to Walmart and bought one of those My Little Pony things, but they had the money to do that. And so for me, I got to always say it's cash, 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 cash. This is the best time to do it because I think a lot of people would like a little extra money for something special.
Right. Oh, I love it. Well, Jeanie, what an honor to have you take some time on your drive to Michigan. Say hi to all my girlfriends over there in
I
the
sure will.
lunch bunch. And I'm excited. I have also, for those consultants that don't know, I've also gotten Jeanie into a Florida lunch bunch.
Yeah,
And
I'm still wondering about that. What the?
we're flying you in just a few weeks. Tom and I are
I
getting the
know.
house ready.
I know. What have I said? What have I done? Oh my gosh.
Oh, but we love it. So thank you so much for taking your time with us tonight. It's been wonderful. And congratulations again to all of you. And have an incredible June.